of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fell to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Oh, all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I've loved, they'd wished me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all.
Bada bing, bada boom. It is just about that time, ladies and gentlemen. That is the parting glass from the Assassin's Creed 4. If I can change the screen. There we go. From the Assassin's Creed 4 original soundtrack. I cry every time. I agree. Who said that in the chat? I want to give you due credit. All-Seeing Vladimir. Yes, I agree. I cry every time as well. But if you wanted to look that song up, that's what that one is. But hello, everyone. Sorry if I sound a little bit congested. There's a bug going around here in northern Colorado in early 2018. It is a beautiful day, though. We got snow outside. It's chilly. It's breezy. The insulation in this apartment is minuscule, so it is very cold, but we're going to push through it and have a fun show nonetheless. And we got some things to talk about. Now, I was a little bit conflicted, I will be honest. Basically, there is a Nintendo Direct that's going to be, or a Nintendo Direct Mini, whatever they call it, that's going to be going on around 2-3 p.m. Today, and it's not clear what they're going to announce, but what they have said is, let me pull this up so I can show you right here. They've said that there's going to be a new Switch experience. Let me move my face so you can see. A new Switch experience, whatever the hell that means, with the full reveal coming at like 3, and I'm getting email notifications from my spam account. So let's see, 2 p.m. Pacific, so like 3 p.m. for me. So that's something to consider. But it says, tune in to discover a new interactive experience for Nintendo Switch, specifically crafted for kids and those who are kids at heart. I don't know what that means, because a lot of Nintendo games seem geared for kids, but it could mean all sorts of things. I don't know, so we'll just have to see. But I was going to try to delay the show till 3 and then we watch it together, but then the reality is that Nintendo's going to take anything I do down, so there would be no real point. So it's just, we're going to do the show like we would normally do it, and we're going to push through it. And yes, Gilad, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Carlin, last name Carlin. Yeah, we can talk about Cyberpunk, don't worry. Let me turn on Where is the live chat? Let's just do that. There we go. So people watching this later can see what I'm talking about. So there is a Nintendo something going on later today, but we honestly don't know what that could be, because of course last week on the 11th they had a big event where they announced a bunch of stuff, like a Dark Souls port. They announced some new content for Mario, for all of these, and a lot of people got excited about that, thought that was going to be the end of it until March, April. But apparently there's more to reveal, so that could be anything. It could be just a new child mode on the Switch where you can have parental controls installed or something, or it could be something way more severe and interesting. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But that is going on today. I decided to just push through it because I've already made plans after this. For those of you wondering if we will ever get a standardized time for the show, yes, that is going to happen for Talk Gaming in general. I'm currently interviewing and in the process of trying to get a promotion at my current job, which would shift around some of my hours, but would open up for a more consistent schedule nonetheless. So currently I'm worried about committing to one particular day if that day is going to get shifted around and moved. So hopefully within the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I can know if I got that position and we can schedule, you know, from there on. But that's currently where we're at with that. Just wanted to get that out there because I know some people have been asking. But yeah, no, it's been good so far. I always say I want to try to do this, but I'm always terrible at it. I want to start by saying what we all have been playing, what I've been going through. And I recently have been playing, I went through Assassin's Creed 3 again, and that's for an upcoming critique. So, you know, there's no mystery. That is going to be probably the next critique that we do is going to be on Assassin's Creed 3, which at the time when it came out back in like October of 2012 was phenomenal. Like, it blew my mind when I played it. And of course it came out right around the time when there was all the end of the world predictions. You know, December 21st, 2012 was supposed to be the end of the Mayan calendar. So everyone was talking about the world ending, and that had a huge influence on this game specifically, especially the Abstergo sequences. And so it was a real throwback going through it again. And I've enjoyed parts of it, and parts of it are just bizarre and weird. Plus, I don't know if you've played it recently, but the PC port is atrocious. Like, we're talking 3-4 reboots just to get it so the hair would render properly and the water wouldn't flicker. And even with like a GTX 1070 Founders Edition that's overclocked, there's still issues where running through a forest on high settings gets you about 40 FPS. So it dips and moves around a lot. So it's not well done. And I was going to also critique the Tyranny of King George, which is a DLC they came out with, basically hypothesizing and doing this sort of what if situation where King George became a tyrant and became the very thing he wanted to avoid. So that was going to be interesting. I was excited to play through that and get to critique it. But there's a game-breaking glitch in that one that was existent in 2013 when it originally came out that they never patched. So you get about 2/3 of the way through it. There's a game-breaking glitch that makes it so you can't progress, and there's been no fix, nothing like that. So my personal hope is that one day, maybe a year or two from now, we'll get like a port of AC3 to the Switch, and that will force Ubisoft to go back through and to fix all that crap. I mean, that would be easy money for them, don't you think? If they just went through and said, hey, all of these are going to work on the Switch now. You know, you can play Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3. Port all of them to the Switch. Like, why wouldn't they do that? It's easy money. Lord knows they've got enough people to do it. They've got, like, you know, something like 10,000 employees. So that's what I've been going through. I won't say what the next project is going to be, but I think you will enjoy it. I think you're going to enjoy it. And also, the freaking Witcher 3 did something incredible video. If you have not seen this, I recommend you check it out. But basically, I had a video that got very, very good, well, just a great response overall. Let me try to pull it up just so I can show you. for those of you who have not seen it yet, where did I put it? Right here. Okay, right here. This guy, The Witcher 3, did something incredible. It's done like surprisingly well. I know I liked my own video. Get off me. I'm starving. I know I did it. All YouTubers do it. It's really weird. But like you see this right here. Where did that come from? I don't know. It just happened. So thank you all for watching it. Thank you for liking it and sharing it. It really helps me out. So that video is done very, very well. Every once in a while, like you have a hunch that a particular video is going to do well. And then when it does, you're kind of still surprised by it. And this has been one of those. I scripted it out and people seem to have enjoyed it. So thank you for helping get that that much exposure. It really does help. But let's talk about a few things real quick. The other thing I've been playing a lot with friends is Injustice 2. Now, if you have not played Injustice 2, you are doing yourself a disservice, my friends, because this game is just outright phenomenal. I am obsessed with this game now. And of course, we got to sit through a trailer for another game. I'm obsessed with this game. We've had friends over specifically to play this game. And I was not previously somebody who played a lot of Injustice. I'm not a big fighting game person, but it has completely stolen pretty much all my free time. I love this game. I don't know where it's been all my life. I am a fan, to say the very least. So let me pop this in here so we can still see the chat. There we go. So, I mean, now they have a DLC coming where you are going to be able to play as the Enchantress. I still like Cara Delevingne. I think that's her name. The actress who played her in Suicide Squad. But, you know, this chick looks okay, too. I have played as her. They had the galactic whatever thing with the multiverse whatever thing. And you could play as the Enchantress and try her without buying her. And she's fun. She's fun. So there you go. If you're a fan of Injustice 2, I not only highly recommend it, it's way better than Mortal Kombat X. Like, way better. Like, stupid better. And Mortal Kombat came out in 2015 and was pretty good at the time. But this is just, it's way faster, way zippier, way more responsive. And I know because we actually had both and we tried to play them side by side. And this one, it's just way better. Like, it's just way better. So I highly recommend Injustice 2. And now more characters coming to it. I can only recommend it further. And the story mode is also really good, with 2 options at the end. I will just say this though, so often I find myself in movies and video games. Maybe I'm just a bad person, but so many people, like, they write these stories, they write these games, movies, TV shows, whatever, and they try to make the bad guy seem really bad. And they're just assuming, taking it on blind faith, that you're going to agree with them. Like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, that Starrick was a terrible guy who needed to be stopped. I completely agreed with him. I didn't want to stop him. I was like, yeah, no, he's bringing the world into the 21st century. He understands, like, industry and the sacrifices that must be made. So I can appreciate that. Good on ya. Keep going. But then, like, the guys in Montreal just assumed that I would be like, yes, no, Starrick, big bad businessman. He must be stopped. No, I completely agreed with Stark. In friggin' Star Wars, like, the Empire, they're probably right. They're probably on it. It's just like, oh, they wear dark cloaks, so they must be bad. No, I think they're probably right. And then in Injustice 2, not to spoil anything, but there's a point where you're asked to make a decision to take a side, and the side that they heavily hint as being the correct side, the right side to take, to me was the stupid one. Like, just, like, super stupid. I didn't understand it. And the way I know that they wanted you to take the other one and not the path that I thought was right is because they officially call the path I took the bad ending. Officially. So maybe I'm just immoral and I'm just a bad person, or maybe I'm just used to playing games that do all this stuff, but I don't know. Do a review of The Last Jedi and trash it. I think most people have already done that. The thing is, I'm just not, like, with the name like Luke, you end up getting a lot of Star Wars references made at you. Everyone coming to me and saying, hey, Luke, I'm your father. And it's like, so, wow, that was original. I'm so impressed at your creative genius. It's frustrating because it gets so boring and so repetitive so quickly. So I've never been super into Star Wars. I enjoyed it a little bit. You know, it wasn't terrible. But, you know, I've never really understood it. And as I've gotten older, I like am understanding more and more of what the context and what the ideas and themes are behind the movies and behind all of this. I don't really understand what the appeal is. Like, I think there's other sci-fi, you know, series that have probably done all of it better. And specifically the newer movies, like the originals were good. They were feel good. They made you feel good, and they were interesting. These newer ones that they've come out with, like The Last Jedi and whatever the episode 7 was, I can't remember what it was called. Whatever that one was called, it was just so clearly an attempt to remake the old ones to fulfill this sort of nostalgic drive that we're getting people to go to the movies, which I understand. It's good business. It makes a lot of money. Obviously it did. I think it grossed close to $2 billion, like, or $1 billion. And so clearly it made a lot of money, but at the end, I don't understand. I don't really understand what the deal is with these newer episodes and these newer movies that are coming out. I don't see the appeal, and apparently not many other people do. Good evidence of this is that China has not responded well to the newest, to the Last Jedi. They have not really watched it. They're the second largest market in the earth for films, so they needed a lot of money to come out of China for it, and China has not responded well to it at all. The numbers are down something like 80% over the previous, not A New Hope. That was the original. I can't remember what the original one was called. But yeah, no, they've not responded well because it's so dependent on the previous titles, which are not as crazy popular in China to begin with. So all of that. So yeah, no, there's I don't know how we got on that, but those are my thoughts on Star Wars. We'll just have to see. Hi Mary, glad to see you're here. That's my sister, for anybody wondering. So my sister, she's in Michigan right now. So glad to see you could make it. I'm loving it. This one, let's just run through these real quick. Then we can get to the main topic of the day right here. Fortnite passes 40 million downloads. Not saying a whole lot for something you can download for free, but still very impressive. And Fortnite probably officially is competing primarily against PUBG, to be fair. PUBG, I think is fun. I've sat down and played it with other people, and we've had a good time. The difference is that this is a well-made game, and PUBG is frankly not. Like, there is just a reality of what PUBG offers, and the reality is that it's just not a well-made game, which is why you can have incredibly high-end hardware running it and it runs terribly, and you've got all these glitches, all these pop-ins, all of these issues that still exist in the game that they are charging $30 for, to be fair. So I appreciate that, but now it is out there, you know, racking up millions and millions of sales, and it's still frankly running as though it's in like beta, maybe even alpha in some cases. Like that version they launched on the Xbox One X, that was an alpha build. Like, let's be real. It does run better. I will grant you that, Neat. It does run better now than it used to, but it's still not running at the same level of polish you would expect from a seemingly AAA title. So, and the one thing you can say about Fortnite is that it most certainly does run well. It is highly polished. It is well made. And they're just absolutely killing it. It does have a more cartoony feel, but it's absolutely picking up steam, and it's getting a lot of attention, as I think it deserves. Probably it's from Epic Games, and let's see, it's more than 40 million people that have downloaded the game as of January, and this is up 10 million from the 30 million they had in December. So just in December, 10 million new players. I'm one of those. Have gotten on this, and apparently, yes, this does work on, let's see, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So yeah, it's cross-platform. Well, not officially cross-platform, but you can play it on consoles as well. So that's something to consider. Fortnite is absolutely killing it. Good job to Fortnite. I'm glad to see them picking up steam and getting more and more success, because hopefully it will drive PlayerUnknown to get their crap together. And you know, they've got so much money. They could literally hire on like something like 250 people just to come on and work for 3 months on polishing and fixing, and then, you know, have it in their contract that you're working for 3 months until this project is done. It's what like retailers do all the time with seasonal workers. Just hire them on for like a consulting position, get the game polished, release it for consoles, get some cross-platform play if you can do that, and then just leave that there. They have the money to do it. They have the resources. There's literally no reason they couldn't. But with that, another thing. Another Alien game is in development at Cold Iron Studios. So Fox Next Games has acquired Cold Iron Studios, and the studio is gearing up for development on a new title set in the Alien cinematic universe. According to their official announcement, the game will be a shooter for PC and unspecified consoles. That unspecified consoles is interesting to me, specifically because, of course, there aren't that many consoles to potentially release on at the moment. So we're still looking at something a ways out. If they're saying unspecified, it usually means that they're planning this for the next generation of consoles. So this is probably still 2, 3, 4 years out, but it is still interesting to see that something is in the works. As they said here, quote, "We are thrilled about the opportunity to explore an amazing and rich universe. Our background in building online worlds and taking established franchises to the next level in interactive entertainment is a precise fit with our product roadmap ahead. We can't wait to share more information soon." And this is important. While we got a new installation or installment from or in the Alien film franchise last year, it's been several years since a video game set in the iconic sci-fi universe has been released. For our thoughts, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Alien Isolation. I also played through that recently. I was at a friend's house and we were playing through it. And, you know, we've been doing a lot of game nights. I've been trying to really make a point to go out and play games with people and have a good time while doing it. To play games that you wouldn't otherwise play in a group setting. And I've had a great time with it. I've really enjoyed it. And one of the games we tried playing is Alien Isolation. And it was fun. It was interesting. It was intriguing. But at the core, it was still a glitchy mess. Like the AI was broken in multiple ways. And at one point we went through an entire cutscene that we spawned outside of the ship. So we were just surrounded by the skybox of stars, and that was it, which is a little like I wasn't expecting it, but it did happen. And it was really funny when it happened, because we weren't sure if that was like a weird sort of thing that was happening where you were psyched out and you were like hallucinating or something. We weren't sure if it was part of the game, but turns out it was just a broken mess, and that it wasn't actually supposed to happen. So there you go. Edzone, thank you for the donation, buddy. Love your content, Luke. Keep up the good work. Hope your channel grows. You deserve 1 million subs. Thank you, my brother. Thank you so much. That really does help. So thank you, honestly and truly. That means a lot. Thank you. So yeah, no, all I was saying with Alien Isolation, it's an interesting game. It was an interesting concept. I think they just rushed it out, which is too bad. That's something we've seen a lot of recently. Less so in the last 6 months to a year. I haven't noticed a lot of just steaming piles of garbage that were released. But, you know, of course, Mass Effect Andromeda, which Jack just brought up, and Jack said, hot take, Mass Effect Andromeda, the most underrated game of this decade, is better than Horizon Zero Dawn. That's how I feel halfway through Horizon. Well, Horizon, I will say this about Horizon. Horizon is something where you do have to be very careful, because there are moments where, like, you have to play it a very certain way. You really do, because if you are playing Horizon in the way where you just kind of plow through it and you just play it and you're kind of just floating through, you're running from main quest to main quest to main quest, occasional side quests sprinkled in, like, you know, a little salt on the pan. If you're doing it like that, you're going to have a bad time. You're not going to enjoy the full extent of it. When you are going to enjoy Horizon is when you really take your time. And that was one of the big issues with Horizon Zero Dawn, is the narrative implies a real sense of urgency, which forces you to run through and run past all of the side quests and all of the side activities that really do add to the overall game experience. The same issue with the narrative that Fallout 4 had, for instance, where, you know, you're trying to save your son, which, who, for all you know, has been kidnapped and could be, you know, about to be killed. So you rush through the main quest trying to find him, skipping past all of the side content that they've put in there that really makes the game good. So I would agree the same thing happens, at least with Andromeda. There's no real sense of urgency. You can kind of float through. Writing a narrative that works for an open world game is really tough. Really tough. Like in The Witcher 3, you're playing through that game. Initially, there's a sense of urgency, which forces you to get around to upgrade your weapons, to upgrade your skills, and then to discover multiple areas. And then when you finally find Ciri, there's this kind of relief where you're like, okay, I can take my time and kind of explore a little more now while we prepare for this big fight with the Wild Hunt and all of that. So you can kind of, it's a sprint, and then you get to jog to the finish line. And I think that's how you probably should do it. Just because I think you need to make sure that there's not a whole lot of sprinting, and then you never get the chance to do the side content. You got to be able to pace it and give enough opportunity. Yeah, no, the one thing I will say about this potentially new Alien game is that the team that is going to be working on it has many people from previous high-profile titles such as BioShock Infinite, Metroid Prime 3, Neverwinter, and City of Heroes, which would imply to me that they've got an all-star team working on this, and I think will be good at the very least. So I'm excited to see what that turns out to be like. This is also another story, kind of interesting. If you are interested in these, Xbox is reportedly working on a new Elite controller. This one actually does seem to be well worth the upgrade if you already have an Elite controller, or if you're looking on or looking for a new one. Now, I had previously never owned an Elite controller. My roommate, however, does have one, and it is a joy to play with. It really is a big difference. It's like when you get the Pro controller for the Switch, you are asking yourself, like, what the heck have I been doing all this time? This is so much better than what I've been trying to make work. So, like, that's how noticeable it was. It's incredibly sturdy, feels good in the hand, it's responsive, the metal construction is noticeably better. It's just a way better controller. And so the fact that they're coming out with this, I think, is potentially good. It's not clear if they'll release it, but it is still something that will work. And yes, you can buy these for the PC. You can even, it looks like this one even has Bluetooth for use directly through a PC that has a Bluetooth connection. So you basically just pair this through Bluetooth, and then you're good to go. You don't even need like a specific dongle to make it work, which is really handy. For this, this is a picture of it, but according to an anonymous user, the controller will boast a number of improvements, including built-in rechargeable batteries, a USB-C port for charging, just like the Nintendo Pro controller. Bluetooth, again, so you don't need a dongle to make it work. You can just pair it to any Bluetooth device, which is fantastic. 3 levels of hair trigger locks, which is pretty awesome. A 3-profile switch, which again helps with remapping if you're swapping between games, and longer key travel for the paddles, which is personally something I really like the feel of. The other thing, The Verge noted, was that Microsoft filed a patent in December for adjustable lock designs within the actual thumbsticks of the controller, meaning that basically this little knob you would, or this little joint, you would just screw that in and it would actually increase the resistance that the joystick would give you. So you can actually adjust the resistance that each of the actual joysticks gives you, which I absolutely love. I think that's a brilliant idea. I don't know why it hasn't been there before, but no, I absolutely love that. So this is something that's coming. It's not clear if it will actually be released, but nonetheless, it's still there. And here, ooh la la, new Fable, reportedly in development at Playground Games. The first thing to say is that the development is still in its early stages still. Okay, so don't get your hopes up that we're going to see this year or next year even. This is still early on. It basically looks like previously, of course, they had Fable Legends that was in development. And Fable Legends was going to be interesting. It was going to let you play as like the bad guy, and then it seemed intriguing. But apparently Microsoft didn't think so and trashed it, clearing it out. And so like this one, ceases all development on Fable Legends and Project Knoxville, which was this game, which was being developed by Press Play, and it was being developed as an exclusive for the Xbox One. Again, cleared out. It was a third-person multiplayer survival game. Throughout the game, players can jump, sprint, and interact with the environments. The game's major objective is to survive and escape from an arena, which is filled with different hostile enemies. These arenas are round-based, each one lasting approximately 10 to 20 minutes. The game does not feature a persistent world. It sounds very similar to Evolve, actually, but this was closed down in March of 2016 and canceled. Now, I want to be fair a little bit, because I think it's important to be fair. People freaked out when these were canceled, okay? And at the end of the day, we need to understand that these companies are primarily interested in making money. So at the end of the day, if they thought that whatever this game looked like, if they thought it was going to sell and people were going to enjoy it and buy it, they would not have canceled it. The other side is if it was in development hell and it kept getting delayed and pushed back and they weren't making progress on it. They were saying, no, give us 6 more months. We can get it working. You know, it's broken right now, but we can get it working. And then 6 months later, they need 6 more months. We can get it working after that. At that point, you just have to say, screw it and leave it where it is. And that appears to be a mixture of what happens. It looks like what happened with Project Knoxville, at least from my understanding, was that they kept getting into development hell, and especially after Evolve and some failure from some other multiplayer games, they just decided it wasn't probably going to work, and they decided to just can it. And they had been spinning and spinning, not much progress was being made, and they didn't think it justified the cost. And that's saying something, because when you spend and invest millions of dollars into a video game like this, and then you cancel it outright, you're giving up all potential money-making opportunities from it. Whereas with Mass Effect Andromeda, it was just not making progress. It was not going to ever be polished. So they just released it, said, screw it, we'll see if we can get any money for this project instead of outright canceling it. And with this, these were apparently so far gone, they just shut it down, which is unfortunate. But at the end of the day, there was probably a significant reason and a legitimate reason that they canceled these games, which is, you know, unfortunate, but that's just what happens in this business. But this is still interesting. Microsoft is reportedly reviving the Fable series with a big budget, character-focused action RPG. Playground Games, the studio behind the Forza, people give me crap for saying Forza series, is said to be developing the new Fable. Eurogamer reports Microsoft is making a significant investment in Fable, though development is still in its early days. Now, the reason they're doing this, reportedly, is because of Horizon Zero Dawn and how well that game did. Apparently, they thought the market wasn't really there. Horizon did such a good job and sold so well and sold so many consoles specifically. They decided they need to get on this, and they are pumping money into it. So right here, Let's see. The report states Playground is in the process of hiring new staff with currently 200 people set to work on the game, which is a pretty decent sized studio. You know, that's up there with Bethesda Game Studios and even CD Projekt Red. In sort of early and mid development of The Witcher 3, near the end of development, they were around 350, 400 strong. With Cyberpunk, it's reported they could be getting up towards 600, 700 working on Cyberpunk. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But they have a good number of people working on this, and they're only going to be hiring more as they go on and get closer to release. So that's interesting. Rumors of Playground working on a non-racing game first surfaced nearly a year ago. Months later, it was reported that the new game would be an open-world action RPG, which is in line with Eurogamer's description of the new Fable. Yeah, Microsoft's decision to bring Fable back was reportedly influenced by the success of Horizon Zero Dawn, which has sold roughly 3.5 million copies, at least as of June 2017, probably well above 4 million after the holidays. Which is significant. Now, the fact that, you know, people were kind of freaking out that they gave this to a studio that has previously worked primarily on racing games, and people were like, what the heck is that? Well, also, like, some studios actually have success. The studio making Days Gone, the big zombie apocalypse, you know, with 50,000 zombies racing from the roof, that they showed off at E3. That studio previously worked on mobile games, and they're making this fantastic looking, massive open world zombie apocalypse game. So, you know, sometimes you just, when you have some talented artists, they can do some incredible stuff. So I'm not too worried about that. And we'll just have to see. So this is something that's happening. It's interesting. We'll just have to see, but it still looks like it's a ways off. It is just weird that they canceled and shut down the studio that had a history of working on the series and the franchise, only to basically hand it off to another studio later and be like, hey, you just kind of take this. We don't want to really mess with it anymore. You guys have good success in the past with the Forza series. We trust you. Neat has been saying, we have a confirmed release date for Final Fantasy 15 Windows Edition. You can't ruin my fanboyism anymore. When is that coming? 15 PC. When is that coming? PC release date set. Let me share the screen right here. This is what I'm looking at. They also have some specs. Let's see, March 6th. Is that what they're saying? Let's see. And as announced, we'll visit Eon on desktop March 6th. Yeah, so March 6th. That would be a good time for me to try it. I will grant you that. So that's going to be interesting. If you want to play Final Fantasy 15 on the PC, that's good. Let's see, back in October, minimum and recommended specs appeared on Microsoft Store page. The game's 4K HDR specs are expectedly more demanding. Here's an overview. i7-7700, okay, or a Ryzen 5 1600, makes sense. They recommend a GTX 1080 Ti to hit 4K steadily. It's not clear if that's 30 FPS. I don't see anything specifying that, but I would hope 60. But nonetheless, like a GTX 1080 Ti is just about the highest end you could possibly get for something like that. So that's good. But that's something interesting. Yeah, neat. Go team. Go team. We're gonna get Final Fantasy 15. Let's see. Where did I see this? Sometimes it's better to give something to a better studio. Cough, cough, Sonic. Yes, Soundhurt. I agree. Sometimes, like, some studios, they just... usually it's management related. They just get into some trouble. They have trouble motivating each other. They have trouble motivating their workers, and they just can't hit deadlines. And at the end of the day, you have to hit your deadlines. There's just no excuse, especially when you're dealing with a staff that is 300 strong. You know, an extra month of that, you're talking potentially millions of dollars in operating costs just down the drain because you couldn't hit a deadline. And so it's understandable that Microsoft or whatever company would be like, yeah, you guys are just sucking. So let's fix this and give it to somebody else who can actually hit deadlines. And that's the one thing you can say about the Forza team, is that they have a history of hitting deadlines, which is what you need. So, let's see. What else were people saying? I don't see anything. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. As to where everything else is going, Microsoft, I don't know. I still don't friggin' know if they're going to be getting into exclusives. I don't know if they're changing their mind, if they're pushing it. Part of the thing is, Microsoft's right. Exclusives aren't good for the consumer. If it were a perfect world, there wouldn't be any exclusives and it would just be great. But the other side of it is that people want exclusives. People want stuff because they fall into the team thought, and a lot of gamers are asking for Xbox exclusives to give them a reason to have their Xbox instead of selling it and going over to the PS4, basically. So we'll just see. But as of right now, I mean, Crackdown 3, which looks painfully uninteresting, I guess that's something we could look forward to. I just don't know. I really hope they figure something out with Crackdown where it's just like, it's mind-blowingly amazing and everyone's blown away by it. But I really think it'll probably end up being kind of like the Last Guardian. Lost or Last? I think Last. The Last Guardian, where everyone was expecting it and was excited for it for like almost a decade, maybe even a decade. And everyone was looking forward to it, so excited to finally play it. But when it came out, it was just like, it was okay. Feels like a PS3 game. That's it. What else is there to play? And that was about it. That was about it. People kind of forgot about it instantly. That'll probably be what happens with Crackdown. It'll sell decently well. People will get it because they want to try it. They'll play through it. They'll be like, it was okay. And then they'll just move on and forget about it. The one thing you can say about Sony is that they're pushing the cutting edge, which is what you need to do in the industry nowadays, which is, I mean, that's what Nintendo seems to be doing, sort of, but they're also pushing previous like ports of older games. But that's the thing, is what Nintendo's doing shouldn't be working. It shouldn't be working, but it is. And I don't know exactly, like even myself, just earlier I was saying, if they could manage to get a friggin' like port of Assassin's Creed 3 or an older game, like the original 3 Assassin's Creed games, that ran on the 360. If they could get those to the Switch, I would buy that. I'm not sure why. Like, I'm able to play them on the PC. I have them for the PC. But there's just something about being able to take it with you on the go, to be able to play it in that form factor, that does sell it for me. It makes me want it on my Switch. And that's the thing, is that the Switch is just enjoyable to use. The PC is great, but there's a little more hassle to getting things set up for it. Whereas the Switch, I just pop it out. I can go lay on the couch and play something. I can play Golf Story on my couch if I wanted to. Speaking of Golf Story, what have you guys heard about that? I want to know your thoughts on it. Has anyone here played Golf Story? If you have, let me know what you think of it in the chat, because it's been recommended to me multiple times and I'm not sure. I want to hear a tiebreaker. Somebody's got to let me know. And if you have, I'd be really interested to know, because I'm totally open to it. I just don't know much about it. I know it's an RPG. I know that it's, of course, about golf. But I don't know much about it. Apparently, it's pretty interesting and funny. And people have compared it sort of to Stardew Valley, in the sense, like the attitude and the feeling of it, which is interesting. But I just haven't heard much about the actual gameplay, the actual implementation of the RPG mechanics specifically. I don't know if it's just an RPG where everyone's calling everything an RPG nowadays, even though there's no real reason to call it an RPG. I don't know. There's just some weirdness that goes on with all of this. I don't know. We're in a state right now where everything, like, terms have almost no meaning. Terms have almost no meaning. You know, what is a friggin' RPG anymore? You know, you can call pretty much anything an RPG. Basically, it just means that there's multiple ways kind of styles to play it. Is that a full-on RPG, or has the term honestly lost all meaning? It kind of has. You know, we're at a point where you can call Divinity Original Sin 2 an RPG. You can call The Witcher 3 an RPG, which they're very different. Very different. And by like a lot of classical terms, The Witcher 3 probably wouldn't be defined as an RPG. There's certain ways that you can play it. There's branching narratives. There's multiple options that you can take. But in classical terms, to be fair, it's not as wildly branching as something like Divinity Original Sin 2, which is much closer to like a D&D, which is why they've actually teamed up with Wizards of the Coast and with all of these. I think it's Wizards of the Coast. Is it? I don't know. Whoever it is that makes D&D and that heads those up, they've paired with them. And so you can actually play through Dungeons and Dragons campaigns in Divinity Original Sin 2, which is so cool when you come down to it. Like, that's so cool. It's like the evolution of Dungeons and Dragons is now that you can do it all in Divinity, which is just phenomenal. That's going to be the next game night. If we ever get to the point where I can do like a freaking meetup with fans and stuff and with viewers, we're going to like an internet cafe, or we're going to some sort of gaming space, and we're setting it up and we're playing through a massive match of like Divinity Original Sin 2 set to some sort of D&D quest. Like, we're doing something awesome like that, I swear. But that's the thing, is I set the bar so high, so now I'm gonna get disappointed when that becomes exorbitantly expensive to do. But we'll just see. Now let's talk about the last thing. Let's see. So a Polish website just a couple days ago said that Cyberpunk 2077 will be playable at E3. So let's talk about this for a second. This one, the reason it's interesting is because it comes from two independent sources. And this comes just after last week when, of course, we talked about it on the last show. There was the Cyberpunk official Twitter account just tweeted beep, and that was it. And so there's apparently something going on. They're apparently getting ready to show something off. And this is the thing, though. I'm not sure how this will work specifically, because previously, of course, they announced Cyberpunk like a good almost 5 years ago. Okay, more like 4.5, but like 5 years ago they announced this game, and we haven't heard anything about it. When they announced The Witcher 3, they originally showed it off, I believe, in like 2013, and then they spent 2 years talking about it and kind of revving it up, releasing some footage, some interesting stuff. Nobody really knew what to make of it, and that was it. So even if they show it off at E3 this year, it's not clear if it's going to release in December. It's not clear if they mean, look at this, it's still 2 years out, but we just wanted you to see it. Either way, I'd be happy. I'm not complaining either which way. But just to manage expectations, this doesn't necessarily mean the game's coming out this year or even next year. It could still be a ways off. Just like with The Last of Us Part 2, where they showed that off just to let people know it's real, it's coming. Don't freak out about it. This is what it'll look like. And so that's going to be interesting. But basically, the Cyberpunk 27, blah, 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 we just talked about that. Let's see. Now, a rumor has surfaced on Polish website, GRY Online, via Google Translate, that a new trailer for the game will be shown at this year's E3, and that it will, in fact, be playable, although only behind closed doors. The site said the claim comes independently from two separate sources, and while it's obviously just a rumor at this point, it strongly believes that the game will be present. It also pointed out that the rumor coincides with a report last week from YouTuber Legacy Killa HD that a tech demo build of Cyberpunk had been submitted to Sony in December of 2017. An indirect connection, but if accurate, evidence that the wheels are beginning to turn in earnest. E3 is still a good ways off. It runs June 12th through 14th this year, but in light of the recent activity on Twitter, it seems like a reasonable bet that CD Projekt will have something to show. I've emailed the studio for confirmation, which I don't anticipate will be forthcoming, but I'm still relentlessly optimistic about it, and will update if and when I receive a reply. So that's intriguing, and this... Let me see. This one, yeah, I'm using an ad blocker right now. Has been, let's see, is this, I thought this was going to be an update. Let's see. It's certainly no lie that CDPR co-founder Marcin Iwinski gave me in 2016 when I asked about rumors of 2077 that it would be at E3 that year. He said, quote, "It might happen that we will be at E3 and we will show something at E3, but I just want to make it clear it's not Cyberpunk." We have a lot of work still to do with Cyberpunk. Right now, it's at the end. It's the end of talking about Cyberpunk until we go out there and show stuff and say, hey, here it is, because that's how we do games. There's too much talking about what it possibly could be and how big, and when we show it, we should show it and explain it. So I'm going to have people not read anything about Cyberpunk for probably the next time, whatever the time would be. Whatever that means. That's not super helpful, but there it is. Basically, all it means, as far as I can tell, they don't want to have any issues with like uncontrollable hype. And that was like, at the end of the day, Fallout is a good game. Like, Fallout 4 was a good game. It was good. The only reason that it received all the hate that it did was because it didn't match the expectations, which, to be fair, no game could match the expectations that they had built up, especially a studio like Bethesda, who, you know, love them to death, but they, at the end of the day, are just not equipped to release the game that people expected to be released. And they want to avoid that with Cyberpunk, especially after The Witcher 3, which was Cyberpunk's, or which was CDPR's Skyrim, really. And they wanted to make sure that they could manage expectations properly, and that when they finally show it and announce it, they manage those expectations immediately. They answer all of the questions about multiplayer play. They answer all the questions about potential microtransactions. They answer all of that, excuse me, so that people don't worry about it. And that's understandable. I just don't know if that will be this year. I don't know if it'll be next year. I honestly do believe, little, you know, tinfoil hat, I honestly do believe that something was supposed to be shown at Bethesda's conference at E3 last year. That was such a bad conference. There was honestly no excuse for it. And it was only 40 minutes instead of the regular hour that they had rented. I really do believe they were going to show friggin' whatever it's called. I can't remember the name of it. Whatever Bethesda is currently working on, the Star whatever, Star something. And so I believe they were going to show it off. They got cold feet, or the build, they were going to do like a live demonstration, but it broke and they couldn't get it to work. Starfield, that's what it's called. Thank you, Geralt. And I mean, there were a lot of reasons to believe that, not just the fact that the demonstration they gave was so lame, but also just the fact that there was 20 minutes still just floating extra that they never dealt with, and also that the conference and all of their advertising, the background they had already prepared was covered in stars, and they had a section on the little map that they showed that had stars in the background that they never mentioned. And if you watch the behind the scenes of getting ready for something like E3, I believe it was the behind the scenes for the development of, I think Oblivion. When they were going to E3 with Oblivion the first time around, they had to actually put the build on a PC that they had tested the hardware on. They had somebody take the PC, fly out to wherever it was held that year with the PC. Basically, they bought a seat on the plane for the PC, set it down, buckled it in, flew it just like that, like a full-on friggin' government like operation. They had it sitting there, and he carried it by hand to the event center because they couldn't trust it just being shipped. And like that, it was a big ordeal to get it there. And that's usually how these go, because you have to make sure everything's secure. You're talking about a game that millions and millions of people are hyped about. And if it were to get lost, damaged, somebody were to grab it, you'd be in some serious trouble. So it's very possible that like they just got there and they couldn't get the PC they put it on to work. They couldn't get the copy of code to work. And they just said, screw it, take it out. We'll just do the 40-minute demo or 40-minute presentation and leave it at that. I know that sounds maybe like overly optimistic, but I really do believe they were going to show it and something went wrong that made it so they couldn't. I really do believe that. And I think we'll probably hear about that in a couple of years when they release it. Maybe at E3 this year, they'll show it off and people will be like, oh, okay. It all makes sense. You know, Todd Howard will come out and say, I know last year was disappointing and we were going to show this off, but it just wasn't quite there. So we decided to hold off. I know it's disappointing, but hopefully this makes up for it. And everyone will give a standing ovation and be like, we forgive you. It's great. You know, we'll get on our knees and do all sorts of pleasant things to you. That's what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm not sure where I got that where that started, but that's where I'm at. Let's see. We are just about there. Let's see. Just started. Josh says, just started watching your vids and actually always like the info you give. Thanks, man. No, thank you for watching. That's great. And that's the other thing, Gilad, is that Gilad, I'm sorry, I have no faith in how I pronounce names. His face when you saw him take the stage was just, I'm so sorry for what I'm about to do to you. And that's really what did it for me, is that looked like a man who had like a gun to his head, or like off stage his family was there and they were like, you better do it, you better do the presentation, you better do it, and cut it off short. It looked like he knew what he was about to get into, and I felt so bad for that guy. You know, he gets a lot of crap. He's a good guy at the end of the day. He works hard, he does a great job. It's not an easy job to have, to be like the head of public relations. It's just not easy to do. But yeah, no, that was a rough one. That'll go down in history. But okay, it is about time for the final flush, which is a tradition we carry forward. Basically, it's how we end every show. If you're not familiar, if you're new, which we have about 2,000 people here that weren't here just a week ago. So thank you all for coming out. If you are new, basically we end the show by taking a second to throw down some jokes, some one-liners, just funny little things. They don't have to be vulgar. It's usually better if they're not super vulgar, but just something in the chat, which I will take off screen right now. And basically you put those in the chat, label a bunch. I read through them for about a 90-second period. And if I crack up while reading them, I lose, you win, and you'll be the winner for this week. And then if I don't crack up, I win, and then we get to watch a video of some sort. So go ahead, put stuff into the chat. I will wait here patiently so you can throw all of that in. No rush. I will prepare a little something for us to celebrate and watch with. Let's do this. So at the end of the video, we just watch a little something, celebrate it, and have a good time while doing it. What should we watch? I am not so very sure. Okay, yes, I found it. I found what we were gonna watch. Okay. So yes, put lots of jokes in the chat while I finish getting this set up, and then we can jump through. Okay. Let me grab my stopwatch, get ready. Let's go for, I'm going to try to be brief today because we're running a little bit behind. Let's do 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Oh, apparently there's a skyscraper-sized asteroid heading towards Earth that NASA says could potentially be an issue, which is not good. If a freaking skyscraper-sized like asteroid strikes Earth, do you have any idea how bad that? It doesn't matter like where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in a bunker. It doesn't matter where you are. That's an issue. That's not good. I don't care if it hits in New York. You're still screwed if you live in California because it blows. It's like a giant volcanic eruption, basically. It's just not good. Everybody loses. The people in New York are in real trouble. You're still not going to have a good time. But that's a great way to be greeted after doing a little podcast. Okay, let's do this. Final flush. There we go. Let's make this happen. Timer and go. Okay. Ed Zone, first time watching the stream. I've enjoyed it so far. Glad to hear it. Glad you're there. Do you know the way? The way is Ebola. I do know the way. Sound heard. Fish people, my spaghetti. That sounds like something Borat would say. You like my spaghetti? Yes, very nice. It's hard on wall. It's stick. Yes, yes. Ever wonder why pills are white? Because they work. Doctor, I'm sorry, but you suffer from a terminal illness and only have it's scrolled and only 10 to live and have only 10 to live. What do you mean 10 what? Months, weeks? Doctor? 9. Oh, I get it. You have only 10 to live. What do you mean 9 8 7? Yeah, that's funny. I hear voices says it was only when I went skydiving that I found out adrenaline was brown. Oh, real brown and sticky and smelly, I'm sure. Mom, David, am I a bad mother? Me, my name is Sean. David, am I a bad mother? Oh, I get it. Why are you running? Why are you running? The way. You must know the way. Have you heard the first transsexual Oprah Winfrey is running for president? So glad they're going to hire government now. Gerald of Rivia Fish people. That's nuts, bro. Scary. Spaghetti. I give up on being witty. Lol, an asteroid being heading towards Earth is an issue. Yeah, NASA are satanic liars. I hope the asteroid hits me square in the face. Oh, see what I mean? See what I mean? It's like 2 minutes later, and I'm just so bad at this. I think I did crack up on one of these. I forget which one. Which one did I crack up on? I think it was Ed Zone. I think Ed Zone, or it was I Hear Voices. One of you two wins. We'll tie it. One of you guys tie it. How about that? Everyone wins. No, I enjoy this. I have a good time. Okay, there we go. Well done, everybody. We ran through those quickly. Now we celebrate with this suggestion. Thanks to Geralt of Rivia. Let's just enjoy the Lord and Savior, the one and only Alex Jones.
I was told by a genetic engineer about a project they were on in England once, and I never told the story on air because it's so fantastical. Oh, God. They had in tanks people with gills, and they're little babies, and they were in there just gulping, clawing at the sides. You see a turtle at the zoo, and it wants out, and you feel for it. They got humanoids crossed with fish and stuff. I mean, we are screwed, people. I mean, do you understand that?
That was one of the weirder things.
I guess my medical doctor's bad too. Because you're the amazing Randy, a big beard. You expose people that bend spoons. Oh, I'm not bending spoons, jackass. You and George Soros and Snopes can sit up there all day and go, these crazy right-wingers think there's a world government forming. They think the NSA's spying on them. I'm the amazing Randy.
I love him so much. I aspire to be Alex Jones in my personal life and here on YouTube. Welcome, Oscar. Good time to show up. Good time to show up. I'm not sure where the live chat went. Hopefully it's still working. Hopefully the stream's still going. But thank you everyone who tuned in. I had a great time today. Hopefully you did too. We're gonna have a good time in the coming weeks. Tomorrow morning we're probably gonna have another episode of the Luke Show, and we're just gonna talk about all sorts of stuff. But as for right now, that's where we're at. But thank you everyone for coming out. We had a great time. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.